The invitation sat unopened on my desk for 3 weeks. Heavy cream cardstock with gold foil lettering announced the wedding of Sophia Williams to Preston Montgomery II. No mention of the bride's mother anywhere, despite the fact that I'd raised her alone for 25 years. Ms. Taylor, my assistant Sarah, poked her head in. The conference call with the Tokyo investors starts in 5 minutes, and your daughter's been calling all morning. I nodded, fingers tracing the embossed edges of the invitation. Put her through after the call. 3 hours later, I finally heard my daughter's exasperated voice. Mom, why haven't you RSVP'd yet? The Montgomery's wedding planner is having a fit about final numbers. Hello to you too, Sophia. I kept my voice calm, the same tone I used in hostile takeover negotiations. I wasn't sure if the invitation was a courtesy or if you actually wanted me there. Of course I want you there, she paused. Just, maybe not in any prominent role. Preston's family is very traditional, very old money. They have certain expectations, and I don't meet those expectations. The corner of my mouth twitched as I looked out my office window at the Manhattan skyline, at the gleaming tower that bore my company's name. Mom, please don't make this difficult. You know what I mean. They summer in the Hamptons, belong to the right clubs, went to the right schools. They don't, they wouldn't understand someone like you. Someone like me, a woman who started with nothing, who worked as a housekeeper while putting herself through business school, who built a billion-dollar hospitality empire from the ground up, who gave her daughter everything she'd never had, including, apparently, the ability to be ashamed of her own mother. What exactly do you think would embarrass them, Sophia? My table manners? My accent? The fact that I actually worked for a living instead of inheriting wealth. That's not fair, she huffed. I just want everything to be perfect. The Montgomerys are letting us use their country club membership to book the Grand Palms Resort. It's the most exclusive venue in the Hamptons. I stifled a laugh. The Grand Palms was one of my first acquisitions, the cornerstone of what would become Taylor Luxury Properties. I'd bought it precisely because places like that had once turned away people like me. I see. I kept my voice neutral. And where exactly would I be seated at this perfect wedding? Well, she hesitated. Preston's mom thought maybe you'd be more comfortable at the family table. In the back? By the kitchen. The kitchen, where the help ate, where I'd once served plates to people who looked right through me. 25 years of success, and my own daughter wanted to hide me away like something shameful. I wouldn't want to make anyone uncomfortable, I said softly. Perhaps it's better if I don't attend at all. Mom. Now she sounded panicked. You have to come. How would it look if the bride's mother wasn't even there? Just maybe wear something conservative and try not to mention your work. Preston's mom doesn't approve of women in business. Of course she doesn't. I pulled up the Grand Palms reservation system on my computer. There it was, the Williams Montgomery wedding, scheduled for next month. A $200,000 deposit paid by the groom's family. So you'll come and behave. I'll think about it, I said, clicking through to the payment records. By the way, did the Montgomerys put down that deposit themselves? Or did they use their club membership's credit line? The club account, I think. Why does that matter? No reason. I smiled, knowing that like most old money families these days, the Montgomerys were more about appearance than actual wealth. I'll let you know about the RSVP soon. After hanging up, I called the Grand Palms manager. Thomas, it's Elizabeth Taylor. I need you to flag something for me. The Montgomery Williams wedding next month, when they try to charge the final payment to their club account, it's going to be declined. But Ms. Taylor, won't that cause problems? It's less than 30 days out. Yes, I said calmly. It will, and when they call to complain, please direct them to the owner. I'll be handling this personally. I hung up and looked again at the invitation, remembering the little girl who once beamed with pride telling everyone her mommy was a boss. Somewhere between private school and country club playdates, that little girl had learned to be ashamed of how we'd started. Well, perhaps it was time for one final lesson about judging people by appearances. Sarah appeared in my doorway again. Your daughter's online too. She says it's an emergency. I smiled, knowing exactly what this call would be about. Put her through, and Sarah, clear my afternoon. I think it's time I paid a visit to the Hamptons. The Grand Palms Resort was about to host a very interesting wedding indeed, though perhaps not quite the perfect society event my daughter and the Montgomerys had planned. After all, I hadn't built an empire by letting people put me in the back room by the kitchen. The Grand Palms Resort was just as I remembered it. Sprawling marble floors, crystal chandeliers, and that subtle air of exclusivity that made ordinary people feel unwelcome. I kept most of the original decor when I bought it, but made one significant change. The staff now wore designer uniforms and were treated with the same respect as guests. Ms. Taylor. Thomas, the manager, hurried forward. The Montgomerys have been calling nonstop since this morning. Their club credit line was declined, yes. I adjusted my simple black blazer, Chanel, though you'd only know if you knew what to look for. Are they here? In the main ballroom with the wedding planner. And your daughter? He hesitated. She's quite upset. I could hear the commotion before I reached the ballroom. Preston Montgomery's voice boomed through the doorway, all inherited authority and entitled anger. Do you know who we are? This is outrageous. We're founding members of the club. I paused in the doorway, taking in the scene. Safia stood next to a tall young man who had to be Preston Ayule, while an elegant older woman in pearls, clearly his mother, patted her arm soothingly. A red-faced man in an expensive but poorly fitted suit was berating Thomas. Daddy, please, Safia's voice cracked. They'll sort this out. They have to. Actually, I said, stepping into the room, they don't. 5 heads whipped around. Safia's face went from red to white in an instant. Mom? What are you doing here? Handling a business matter. I turned to Thomas. Thank you, you can go. I'll take it from here. Preston drew himself up. Are you from the management? Finally, you have any idea who we are? Elizabeth Taylor. I extended my hand, enjoying his confusion at my lack of deference. Owner of Taylor Luxury Properties, including the Grand Palms Resort. The silence was delicious. Mrs. Montgomery's hand flew to her pearls. Safia swayed slightly. That's impossible, Preston sputtered. The owner is some international investment group. Taylor International Holdings. I smiled. My company, though I'm not surprised you didn't know. People often see what they expect to see, or don't see those they consider beneath them. Mom, Safia's voice was barely a whisper. Why didn't you tell me? Would it have mattered? I asked quietly, would you have been proud to introduce me as the owner of your dream venue? Or would you still have wanted me hidden away by the kitchen, so I wouldn't embarrass you in front of your new family? Mrs. Montgomery stepped forward, social training kicking in. There must be some misunderstanding. We're longtime members. Yes, I cut in smoothly. Members who are 3 months behind on dues, who've had 4 checks returned this year, and who've been floating on credit lines backed by increasingly leveraged properties. I turned to Safia. Did you ever wonder why Preston's family was so impressed by your background? Why they were so eager for this merger? Sorry, marriage? Now see here. Preston's face was purple. Our financial arrangements are private. Nothing is private when you're trying to book a $200,000 wedding on credit that no longer exists. I pulled out my phone, showing them the declined payment notification. The wedding can still go forward, of course, if you can provide alternative payment within 24 hours. Safia looked between me and the Montgomerys, realization dawning in her eyes. The perfect family she'd been so desperate to impress was nothing but smoke and mirrors, just like their supposed old money status. We'll take our business elsewhere. Preston grabbed his wife's arm. Come along, Preston. We won't be insulted by some jumped-up hotel owner. But Preston Ayule didn't move. He was looking at Safia with an expression I recognized. The same one I'd seen in the mirror years ago, when I realized my worth didn't depend on other people's approval. No, Dad. His voice was quiet but firm. I'm staying. And you should know, I've accepted that job offer in Seattle. The one you said was beneath our family's dignity. Preston. His mother gasped. What about the family business? What business? He asked tiredly. The empty offices, the maxed out credit lines. I want to build something real, like, he glanced at me, like Safia's mother did. I felt a surge of unexpected respect for the young man. Maybe my daughter's judgment wasn't entirely clouded by social climbing after all. Safia stepped forward, tears streaming down her face. Mom, I'm so sorry. I was so stupid, so shallow. Yes, I agree calmly. You were. But you're also my daughter, and I raised you to learn from your mistakes. I turned to the Montgomerys. Now shall we discuss the real terms for this wedding? Or would you prefer to explain to your social circle why it was canceled? Mrs. Montgomery's fingers tightened on her pearls. Terms? Simple ones. I smiled. The wedding goes forward, paid for by me as a gift to my daughter. But there will be some changes to the seating arrangements, and I paused. I think it's time the club reviewed its membership policies, starting with how it treats its service staff. The next hour was spent in detailed negotiations, during which the Montgomerys discovered the actual old money, the kind that comes from hard work and smart investments, trumps pretend old money every time. As they left, considerably humbled, Sophia turned to me. I don't deserve your help, or your forgiveness. No, I agreed, but you'll earn both, starting by helping me plan a wedding that celebrates family, all of family, instead of social status. Preston took her hand. And then maybe you can teach me how to build something worthwhile, like your mom did. I looked at them, two young people finally seeing clearly through the fog of social expectations and inherited prejudices. Maybe there was hope for the next generation after all. First lesson, I said, picking up my purse. Never judge someone by where they started. You might find yourself seated at the kitchen table while they own the entire restaurant. The wedding day arrived with perfect Hamptons weather and a few surprising changes. Gone were the stuffy traditional arrangements and segregated seating charts. Instead, the Grand Palms Ballroom had been transformed into a celebration of family, achievement, and second chances. I stood in my office overlooking the venue preparations, wearing a custom-designed power suit that probably cost more than Mrs. Montgomery's entire wardrobe. A knock at the door revealed Sophia, already in her wedding dress. "Mom?" Her voice trembled. "Can we talk?" I turned, taking in the sight of my daughter. The past month had changed her, humbled her, but also awakened something stronger in her character. "You look beautiful," I said softly. "Thanks to you." She fingered the delicate lace of her dress. "Not just the dress, everything. I've been thinking a lot about what you said about where people start versus where they end up." She walked to the window, looking down at the arriving guests. I asked Preston about his new job in Seattle. Did you know he turned down a 6-figure position at his father's company to take an entry-level engineering role? Sometimes the hardest path is the right one. I joined her at the window. Your father left when I was pregnant because he said I was too ambitious, too focused on building something of my own. I could have chosen an easier route, accepted alimony, lived comfortably as a divorced society wife. But you didn't. Sophia turned to me, eyes shining. You worked as a housekeeper, went to night school, built all this. She gestured at the resort around us. And I was so ashamed, so worried about what people would think if they knew where we came from. The truth has a way of coming out, I said, watching the Montgomerys arrive, noticeably subdued compared to their previous visits. Sometimes it takes losing everything to see what really matters. Preston's father had to sell their summer house, Sophia said quietly. But you know what? Preston says he's relieved, said it feels like waking up from someone else's dream. A knock interrupted us. It was Thomas, the manager. "Miss Taylor, the ceremony is ready to begin, and there's something you should see in the ballroom." We followed him downstairs to find the staff lined up in their elegant uniforms, each holding a single rose. At their head stood Maria, who'd been a housekeeper here when I first bought the resort. "We heard the bride's mother started as one of us," Maria said, stepping forward. "We wanted to honor that journey." Sophia burst into tears, but they were different from her previous society princess tears. She hugged Maria, then each staff member in turn, thanking them by name, names she'd learned over the past month while helping me review the resort's operations. The ceremony itself was elegant but unpretentious. Preston and Sophia had rewritten their vows, removing the elaborate social posturing and focusing instead on their hopes for building a life together. A real life, not a performance for society pages. When it came time for the mother of the bride's speech, I stood and surveyed the mixed crowd, old money sitting beside staff members, real achievements valued over inherited positions. 25 years ago, I cleaned rooms in a hotel much like this one. Today, I own it. But the real wealth isn't in the property or the profits. It's in knowing that every person in this room has value, has potential, has a story worth respecting. I raised my glass to Sophia and Preston, who learned that lesson sooner than some. May you build something beautiful together, starting from whatever foundation you choose. The celebration continued late into the night. I noticed Mrs. Montgomery deep in conversation with Maria about her daughter's college applications. Preston Dew, humbled but perhaps wiser, was discussing business strategies with some of my executives. Real connections forming across boundaries that had once seemed so important. As the evening wound down, Sophia found me again. "We've changed our honeymoon plans," she said. "Instead of the Mediterranean cruise, we're going to Seattle early, looking for an apartment. Preston wants to start his new job right away." "And you?" She squared her shoulders. "I've applied to business school. Thought maybe, if you're willing, I could learn the family business from the ground up. Really learn it, not just claim the title." I smiled, remembering a younger version of myself with the same determination. "Report to Thomas next Monday. We'll start you in operations just like I did." "Thanks, Mom." She hugged me tight, not just for today, but for showing me what real success looks like. I watched her rejoin Preston, saw them laughing with a mixed group of guests. No separation now between society and staff, between old money and new achievement. Sometimes the best revenge isn't in proving people wrong, but in helping them become better. I touched the key card in my pocket, the one that still opened every door in this resort, from the grandest suite to the staff quarters. Some things you never forget, nor should you want to.